Who kidnapped the senator Regina on the 3rd of April 2022. Is Efan who assassinated 10 people, 10 civilians at Nacho Junction in Bamenda 2. I don't want to come, just to name a few.
Ndibayi, and welcome to this channel where we give our bonge updates. This one are for Amabazonian territory. This one happened. Now the Cameroonian force led by Paul Biu, they can't drop dead body there to make sure say they use and fear the people with it there. Now why Dr. Cho Ayuba and Mazi Simon Hekba, the Prime Minister, they discussed for this Twitter meeting, making a listing.
Thank you very much. Cho Ayuba, you can go ahead from here, please.
All right. Thanks a lot, Mr. Prime Minister. Am I being heard?
Yes,
very well. Very well. Right. I would like to address a couple of issues and look into the future. We should be very optimistic, not because we are more powerful than those who've held us captive since we were born, but because we are wiser. And the Prime Minister talked about instability. Instability is caused by insecurity. And insecurity is caused by poverty that is induced through mismanagement, corruption, and lack of accountability. Our both nations, both the economic and political infrastructures have been hijacked and tailored to satisfy a handful of gun-wielding, powerful individuals who have now caused even the collapse now of the Naira. And I'm happy that the Prime Minister and myself have had discussions on establishing an intermediate currency for Biafra. The violation of human rights, torture, and arrest, imprisonment, lack of fair trial, summary execution has been the cause of instability. Environmental degradation, getting into Biafra land, into Amazonia, with corporations whose sole interest is profit, and engaging in activities without concern for the protection of the environment has caused oil spills, has caused health hazards. Those are the causes of instability. And I can agree with the Prime Minister more. If you go further to looking at these reports, which purport to cite primary and secondary sources, they are produced in what I call a Eurocentric manner that negates the contextual realities which, if followed, would have produced reports that are not only objective, but reflect the reality of the moment. You find the report, talking about the Amazonian Governing Council and others as militias. And that is not only abusive, but it is wrong. But one of the reasons why we wanted to highlight this report, as the Prime Minister has said, is also because if we do not establish the institutions that can produce our own reports, others will do it for us. And that's why during our last outing, we talked about creating the Ambazonia-Biafra International Relations Institution that will be responsible for overseeing opportunities. And I state this here. Amazonia has engaged in negotiation already. The first failed attempt was through the Swiss government. The second aborted attempt was through the Canadian government. And in my leadership, I have always brought up the Biafran issue, because the destabilization being caused in Biafra by all the issues I have named is going to affect the economic prosperity of Amazonia and the political stability which is required for investment in Amazonia. So we must look into how we are going to shape an approach that is going to undermine the approaches that have been established within the continent. For example, the report highlights the importance of the African Union in either resolving or getting involved into the conflict. If we just look at the last African Union, over 5 countries did not, more countries did not participate because they consider the African Union as having been hijacked by either the European Union, as we saw the French intervention in undermining the supposed currency that they wanted to put in place. We have also realized that the African Union is made up of friends who safeguard the interests of friends, do not have the interests of the constituents they represent, do not have the interests of the millions of Africans. So you can find that Africans are being attacked in South Africa, you will hardly get criticism. You will find that Africans are being molested across the continent. The heads of states that are overseeing these countries for the interests of foreign corporations can never be held to account, because the other countries that are supposed to hold them to account are also ruled by individuals who are either corrupt, inefficient, or dictatorial in their economic and political approaches. So how do we move forward? Who do we look up to? Do we want to, as Biafrans and Ambazonia, create a new world order that redefines, the concept of state interrelationship, concept of sovereignty, state security? How do we want to do it? As the Prime Minister said, the Gandhis, the Martin Luther Kings, the Malcolm X, the Mandelas existed at a particular time. Also, their time and their approaches responded to the geopolitical relationship that existed then. The struggles between capitalism and communism, where international actors could support one side to push them to adopt economic models or political systems that are commensurate to their own. We have harnessed the power of the social media. I will not remind you that we are on Twitter. Then, during the Mandelas, you needed a radio station to be able to communicate. Now, we have the power of the social media. We can undermine constructed narratives, the books written by historians that favor the occupiers of our country can be undermined through knowledge created by the access we have using the social media. So how can we positively not only use the social media to undermine the narrative that treats us as subject to the master state, but also to create alternative political, economic, and social models that will be embraced by our peoples? it is not enough to let the people know what you are fighting against. It is more important to let the people know what you are fighting to offer. This is why we must not wait for the kind of economic model we want to be established only after we have completely defeated colonialism. Biafra and Ambazonia must begin to trade and regulate the trade and make sure that those who trade pay taxes to both institutions that can be used to be reinvested within communities to create proper systems of education, proper systems of cohesion that keeps our people clean environment and that gives our people respect and dignity. We are not going to wait until we defeat these enemies to establish an education system that is going to develop curriculum of education that responds to our economic and socio-economic and political reality. We are not going to sit here and study about fishing and forestry in Norway when you can deal with it down there in Biafra. I told Amabazonians the other day, Singapore got palm, I think from Inigo. Singapore, what it produces in terms of monetary value in palms is $11 billion a year from palms imported from Biafra. It has established a palm industry and subsidiary industry through palm production that creates jobs and opportunities, and that is able to capture the economic potentials, further training, transform the resources at base. So you don't produce palm nuts, you are not able to benefit from it. We are not going to wait until the collapse of these systems to begin to build the kind of society that we promise our people. That is why I agree with the Prime Minister that our own models are different. We are not also going to wait until freedom to shape international politics. When I started discussing with diplomats, I came to realize how limited they were in terms of content, in terms of knowledge. Their knowledge was captured through colonial prison, through economic interest. I came to realize that though France is supporting Cameroon, France has more investment in Nigeria than it has in Cameroon. My people, we are the game changers. We are the disruptors. And I want us to think we are billionaires, not based on the amount of money that is stuffed in our account, but based on the ideas that we have that can transform our societies today. We have today disruptor machineries that can turn the wasteland in the delta, all the spilled oil, into clean drinking water that can save the health of our people, into manure that can be invested in the agricultural sector, into electricity that can power every household. The waste that is produced by our occupiers, if we bring ourselves together, we are going to employ the new technology that will turn that waste into clean drinking water. A sick population is not good for economic production. A sick population cannot accumulate wealth. Half of our population are sick from diseases that can be treated, but deliberately abandoned so that you can be dependent on your occupier. Our health infrastructures have been collapsed, where billionaires have their coffers stuffed with a lot of money. Our environment has been destroyed. The destroyers are flying in private jets and living in hotels that you and myself and our children, our great-grandchildren, the next generation, if we don't fight today, will never dream of living in those places. They are dancing in Aso Rock. They are making birthday parties in Yaoundé. And you are in exile, struggling to find a space to call home, a place where you can even bury your own dad and find his grave next time not ravished by dogs. This is what we face. But what we face also provides us an opportunity, not only to be people who complain about the international system. What have we got to offer? We've got to organize ourselves. And I'm glad the de facto government and the homeland is going to be the true representatives of the Biafran people. It is going to organize communities. It is going to make sure that it creates infrastructures and systems, create systems that can give the poor farmer credit to be able to invest and create wealth and send the children to good schools. Create a curriculum of education that is going to teach your children how to be mechanical engineers, how to produce beauty. Not to tell you that a hairdresser is bad. Being a mechanic means you're stupid. Being an electrician means you didn't go to school. We use words to change the future. We use words to give you hope. We use words to make you not to be afraid. We use these words to tell our enemies that you can alter your approach today for the benefit of your own people, or this generation will collapse your systems. We have just gotten started. We will not succeed if we blink. We will not succeed if we compromise. We will never succeed if we do not give them method for method and ideal for ideal. But most importantly, all of the things we say today, we articulate are mere words. If we do not transform them into actions that can benefit our people today, it will be useless. Ambazonia has risen. Biafra has risen. Our neighbors and the world better get used to from today that these nations exist. Before they were here, we were here. When they will be long gone, we will still be here. And both flags will still hover and tower over our both nations. All hail Biafra, all hail Amazonia.
If you hear this thing to the end and you no understand waiting with the face, that is me, you never start at all. But as at waiting this man talk, Dr. Chuayuba, we have to know, say, now fight for your freedom till the end. If not that one, nobody will give you. For this matter, me, I go rest my case. Una, thank you.